What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So finally, undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the undisputed welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford is now 40 wins, no losses, no draws. 31 big wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, Terence Crawford is coming off the biggest win of his career, the most lucrative fight of his career, the legendary legacy fight of his career. He has now created history 3 times over. He became the first undisputed 4 major sanctioned belt junior welterweight world champion in the history of the sport of boxing. He became the first male to become undisputed in 2 separate weight classes, and he also became the first male to become undisputed in the 4 major sanctioned belt era in the welterweight glamour division. So Terence Bud Crawford, he defeated former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who was widely considered by many to be top 2. Some had him at number 1, definitely top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world, in Earl the Truth Spence Jr. Earl Spence Jr. now has a record of 28 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. They fought last Saturday, July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, where Terence Crawford put on a shocking, dazzling performance as he had dropped Errol Spence 3 times and ultimately stopped him in the 9th round. So here's Terence Bud Crawford breaking his silence on what he thinks of all the new excuses that are starting to arise about Errol Spence suffering from neurologic issues after he suffered that horrific car accident in 2019. Yet he came back and beat Danny Swift Garcia, and Yordenis Ugas dominated Yordenis Ugas in a unification bout, breaking his ribs, nose, and orbital bone, nearly breaking Danny Garcia's orbital bone. And yet today, the fans have claimed that Errol Spence wasn't himself, and there was a doctor that came out and said that Errol Spence was dealing with neurologic issues, suffering from the car accident, and that's why his balance was off, why he got dropped a few times, and that's why he looked as bad as he looked. Also, Terence Bud Crawford addressed former unified welterweight world champion Keith one-time Thurman and his call-out of undisputed junior middleweight world champion superstar boxer Jermell Lions only Charlo. So let's listen to what Terence Bud Crawford had to say regarding
opportunities like Charlo. Man, I just, gave me a little peace of mind, We've been going back for some time, and I just thought I was in the moment. I just thought to let him know that, I'm coming for him too. They don't care for dude. Say I don't like him because, I don't have no, reason not to like him personally. I just don't care for him. I don't know. You know, Charlo holds all the belts at 154. I hold all the belts at 147. Me and Errol Spence was the 2 top welterweights in the division. That was the biggest fight of this decade. That was a fight that's been marinating for 5 years. Um, I don't see nobody else on that level of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, besides Canelo, and he fights at 168 plus. So I don't see me and him fighting. So I would say 154. To my own horn, too loud to be able to say, oh, well, I can beat the world. There's weight classes for a reason, and I respect the weight classes. And yeah, I think 154 will be my max, given the age. I'm about to be 36 years old. Oh, of course, you got to understand. When I came into the division, I called for all the champions. I called for all the top guys. And Keith Thurman was one of the guys that didn't want to shed any light on my name. He was just basically like, "Oh, this guy, he's not even a 147 pounder. He's a little guy. You know, he didn't want to give me my props for moving up and actually not taking a tune up, going right into the champion, beating. Once we fight and when we fight, there will be a lot of excuses. They're gonna say, "Oh, he's been at 140 so long. Oh, that accident. Oh, this. Oh, that." I said, "That's I'm prepared for that." I said, I'm not worried about you know any of those negative things because I'm so used to it that it doesn't bother me anymore. Every fight that I fight, there's an excuse. Garcia, and he looked good. He didn't look 100%. He looked good though, and I was there live at that fight, and I remember getting into it with a couple of his family members, and then they was just like, "Yeah, he gonna look great against you." I was like, "Yeah, give him some time, let him get back, together. He got his feet wet." So when he fought Ugas, he looked spectacular. He looked strong. He did what he had to do, but me and Ugas got a different style. So after the Ugas fight, I was like, okay, underway, because not only would it means more for both of us because we the only two champions and we the top two welterweights in the division, and you say, oh, if we would have fought then, it wouldn't mean as much as it did right now. So him coming off of that great win with Ugas, and then us fighting right after that. Can't nobody say, oh well, the car accident, the eye injury. They can't use that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people is trying to use that, but you got to look at the body of work that he did after the car accident. He fought Danny Garcia and Ugas after the car accident. You know,
So there you hear Terence Bud Crawford addressing Jermell Charlo. He said, I don't care for dude, but it's the next biggest fight that could be made outside of me versus Errol Spence. The only other fight that could be made that would be as big for me would be Canelo Alvarez, but he's just simply too big, and I max out at 154. So Terence Crawford, he said, I'm not naive to think that I can beat the world. I know there's weight classes for a reason, and I'm not going to overstep my boundaries. He says that I want to fight Jermell Charlo because I don't care for dude, and he's the undisputed junior middleweight champion. As far as Keith Thurman goes, I was trying to fight Keith Thurman. I felt like Keith Thurman was the man to beat in the welterweight division when I first came in, but Keith Thurman was essentially trying to push me aside and sun me, talking about I wasn't ready. I was just too small for the division. So, with that said, he stated that it looks like we're going to get the rematch with Errol Spence, and then he doesn't know what the future holds. As far as Jerron Boots Ennis, he stated that I'm looking for all the biggest fights that could possibly be made. Although that fight could be made, that would be the last resort because I'm looking to make the biggest fights possible, mainly the rematch with Errol Spence and a possible showdown with Jermell Charlo so he can become undisputed in 3 separate weight classes. As far as Keith Thurman goes, he stated that, Keith Thurman wasn't trying to give him the opportunity. Now Keith Thurman is laughable because now Keith Thurman is calling out his name and pushing for a fight because now Keith Thurman essentially has become irrelevant. He's allowed himself to become irrelevant. And he only had one loss to Manny Pacquiao, July 2019. But Keith Thurman has only had 3 fights in 6 years. He's just been inactive and out of sight, out of mind. So he addresses also the excuses made by the doctor. And he stated you can't use those excuses because Errol Spence, he didn't look spectacular against Danny Garcia, but he looked good. And then he looked spectacular against Yordenis Ugas. It's just that I'm a different animal from Yordenis Ugas than Yordenis Ugas. We have different styles, and essentially I have more power. I'm a different type of animal. So with that said, he stated that he was prepared for all these excuses to come out. He knew the world was going to say that Errol Spence stayed at 147 too long, and he also knew that they was going to use the car accident as an excuse as to why Errol Spence lost. Hence the reason why he stated he was not interested in fighting Errol Spence as one of his first few fight back after suffering that horrific car accident. He wanted to wait until Errol Spence looked good and spectacular. He wanted to make sure that Errol Spence was back to himself. That's why he even attended the Danny Garcia fight. So let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment in the comment section. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue. Follow me on Instagram, Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Peace.
This is Amanda, the real deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.